way to start off the podcast, eh? Me just fucking rip and a big old burp, baby. Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are all having a great day so far. Hey, this man. Welcome in, bud. Welcome, everyone, to episode 11 of the Payton on the Radio podcast. I actually do want to get an intro made. I think I'm going to outsource someone from Fiverr to make, like, an NHL, like, intro or something like that for the podcast. Because I want to have, like, a cool opening to the show and not just me staring and burping like an alcoholic. So I want to definitely get like a intro going for the podcast. But welcome everyone to episode 11, which fits perfectly with the title because it's Bouchard wanting $11 million, which we're going to be talking a lot about, a lot of Oilers stuff. To start the podcast off, of course, we're an Oilers fan, so we're going to be talking mostly about Oilers stuff. And then later on as well, I will show you guys right now here on the stream that we do got a little bit of a fun tier list to do too, which we're going to be doing this probably every podcast. I'm going to try to keep it up to date. I might, if you guys want, I'll show it up in the Discord every weekend. I'll post it. These will change all the time. We got cup favorites, cup contenders, dark horses, potential surprises, missing the playoffs. We might change it a little bit later on. Like we might change the power ranking to fit more of the regular season kind of like type of thing, but we might keep it a lot of it the same way. So this is what we got going on right now. We're going to do that throughout the podcast as well. So that's what we're going to be mainly doing. Because I really didn't have a big chance to really talk a lot about what the teams did throughout the offseason very much. So I want to do that a lot more here in this stream. We're going to quickly really rank a lot of teams. And we'll see how that all goes. But oh my god, I'm getting it on the wrong stuff. What the hell? It's this one. Okay, there we go. Getting it on the wrong screen. I need to organize it a little bit better. Monthly may work for that. It may. That's what I'm kind of thinking. I might, because what I'm thinking about doing with the podcast, it'll be every 2 weeks. So I'm thinking do every 2 weeks. We'll do like a quick update. Like a team might move up, a team might move down type of deal. So that's what I'm kind of thinking about is where it's just like an every 2 week thing. And it'll be like every other podcast or whatever it may be. We'll figure it out kind of as we go along with the season and see how things kind of end out with that one. We'll kind of be going with the flow with that. So but I hope you guys are all having a great day so far. We're going to be talking a lot of hockey. So we'll see how many people join in here. It's a little bit of an earlier show today at 11 a.m. But I wanted to get it kind of done so then I can end up cooking some food and getting ready for my work week that's ahead of me. So get some tea in me. So I guess we'll start it off with some Oilers hockey stuff. I mean, why not? We'll get into a little bit about that because we have a lot of kind of stuff to go over with the Edmonton Oilers that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet, which we'll get into training camp. We'll get into a lot of things with the Edmonton Oilers to start the podcast off, which I actually should pop that up on my phone. Oh, did you guys see Jesse Puljujarvi's beautiful hat trick? He has a second hat trick of the preseason, which is crazy. Puljujarvi's popping off to start off the preseason, and man, I hope he absolutely pops off this year. Just laugh at the Flames signing. Yeah, just all stream. Oh my god, they got him to a PTO. It doesn't really mean anything, but it is game day today. Yeah, it is very much game day today. for the Edmonton Oilers that play in their first preseason game. We're going to be seeing Matthew Savoy. I'm actually going to pop up a tweet here in a second once I find it of all the kind of this news that's been going on with the beginning of this offseason here, or beginning of training camp. Vander Kane, he's going to be out for a majority of this year. He'll be back in 2025. So I don't know if you guys have seen that, but he'll be back very, very soon. I got a tweet here that I'll show up on the screen right quick. So we got this one here. I actually just found this guy. He's actually pretty sick, but we got Nurse won't play for the first week. We kind of knew that. Nurse was battling an injury throughout the offseason, I'm pretty sure. Kulak won't be playing for the first week, non-injury, so he's probably just getting back into the flow of things. Berglund, he's kind of a low-tier prospect. Then we got Yarantve, who he was announced that he was going to be missing throughout the whole preseason, so we won't get to see any of his action. We won't get to see Bo AK, who I really liked. I think he actually looks quite good from what I heard from a lot of people. Is Bo looks like he could be a real good player for the future of the team. So excited to see what he'll be panning out to be like. And there we go. I had to get the stream going on my phone. And then Savoy and Sam O'Reilly will be playing the first 2 games of this preseason, so we'll get to see a little bit of action from those guys. Savoy didn't look too crazy during the prospects game, so we'll have to see how well he'll do in the first preseason game of this year. I really don't weigh a whole lot on preseason games, to be honest with you. I think a lot of our team is already built up, and we know what's going to be coming in the lineup. I think the only guy that's going to be like the real big question mark is Matthew Savoy, if he's going to be playing or not. If anything happens that you missed, I'll post it in here. Perfect. Yeah. Please let me know if I missed anything, because I'm getting really right back into a lot of things. I'll definitely be missing a lot of updates. So it's always helpful when you guys post any updates about any team in the league. Helps me a ton, starting to kind of get back into the whole ordeal of trying to get back into the NHL and trying to get back into dissecting just about everything. So, yeah. Evander Kane will be out for, I think it was the first, 4 months of the season, so he won't be back until January, February, so he won't be back until then, so his contract will be off the team, which will help us, I think, big time. We did get Mike Hoffman and Jesper Weatherby to both PTO deals. I don't know where even Jesper Weatherby came from. I think it's a PTO for sure. UFA Group 6, so definitely a different UFA. I didn't think he actually did that bad with the San Jose Sharks. I think he was all right. Not the best player in the world, but nice little depth player that we could potentially sign. And Mike Hoffman also to PTO, and then also Travis Dermott are all to PTO, so not too bad of guys. I don't know if we're really going to bring any of those guys in. You could potentially see a Mike Hoffman. He would be not a bad depth guy from extra goal scoring for the team, but really, I fucking hate Puckpedia, man. But really, when you have Podkolzin and Janmark, unless any of these guys fall to injuries, I really don't see anything or anybody really stepping in. You could see Travis Dermott. I think that's kind of dependent on how Ty Emerson plays. But I think Ty Emerson could be pretty good throughout the season, I believe. We'll switch back over to this one. But I think Ty Emerson could be really good for the Edmonton Oilers coming into this season. I think he's kind of like your oddball guy that could play really, really well. I'm excited to see how well he'll do. How well will he do with big top 4 time and playing a full season? That's kind of my biggest question coming into the season with him, is how well he'll do coming into the start of the season. So we'll see how he does. This man just posted the lines for the Flames and Kraken game, which we get to see some players. Jake Bean. Do we get to see any of the big prospects? We do get to see Zane Parecki, and a really stacked up lineup for Seattle. Adam Larson, Josh Mahara. You get to see Beniers, Eberle, McCann, Bjorkstrand. You get to see Katzen. So you get to see a lot of nice players in Calgary. I actually kind of like that. Get to see a lot of nice big players in Calgary and in Kraken, so I think that might be a good game to watch. I'm definitely not paying for Oilers Plus just to be able to watch their fucking preseason games, so I think I might get Sportsnet now and start paying for that membership so I could be able to watch the games on my PC and shit, so might be the plan. Might be the plan here in a bit. But yeah, those are the line. Actually, I think that's actually quite interesting. The lineups for that. I think that'll be a quite interesting game to see and watch. So I think that's really about it. Evander Kane, it is what it is. I think we have enough depth to kind of cover him. But when he comes back, if he does come back healthy, I think the thing is Evander Kane had a lot of injuries, and I think that definitely stunted him in the way that he played and the way that he was able to skate. Because what he had, like a hernia, he had a hip problem, and I think like so many other injury problems. It was quite insane the amount of just injuries and stuff that he was having. So we'll see how well he'll return. I mean, 44 points in 77 games and doing not that bad in the playoffs with that amount of injuries. I do give that pretty big respect, to be honest with you. So I'm interested to see how well Evander Kane will do when he does come back from injury, and we should have basically cleared up enough cap space for that by the time he comes back. Because if you look at our cap hit right now, we're at 945, and I think that's with Evander Kane on the LTIR. Doesn't look like it, so. But it does say Evander Kane underwent surgery. So, yeah, he's basically, like, confirmed he's going on the LTIR for the next little bit anyway. So, for those interested in the Bruins, we got a little Bruins one here, too. Rangers lines aren't out yet. Also, it's Rangers and the Bruins. Not many guys for Bruins either, to be honest with you. It looks pretty, like, a lot of their younger guys are just going to, like, Bouchard, Lysell, Laurie. Not many crazy guys, but we'll get into the big contracts the Edmonton Oilers signed, which they extended Leon Draisaitl to a $14 million deal for the next 8 years for Leon Draisaitl, which is absolutely insane. I love Leon Draisaitl. I think he's very well deserved of it. I think with the way that he plays is amazing. The problem is with that type of contract is it eats up a lot of your salary cap space. It takes him all the way until he's age 37, which that's going to be pretty old, and it takes up about 16% of our cap hit, which McDavid already with his 12.5 takes up 15% of that cap hit. So with just those two guys alone, we have 30% of our cap hit being taken up, and that's not even really, you're not even really looking at it because McDavid is a free agent here in the next 2 years as well, so that means his cap hit is going to jump up tremendously as well. But next year, we're going to have 30% of our cap hit going to both McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and not even just that, from rumors having it, is that Evan Bouchard is supposedly asking for $11 million as well, which I don't know, man. I love Evan Bouchard. I think he's very well deserved of it. A point per game player, the way that he played this past season. He's been pretty decent defensively as well. Definitely needs to improve in that level, but he's a player that I very much love. I love Evan Bouchard. I think he's an amazing defenseman, but $11 million. I knew this 2-year contract was going to come back to bite us in the ass. I think, honestly, what we should have done with Evan Bouchard, right off rip, was we needed to sign him to a long-term contract. That is my whole thought process on that. I think with the way that he was when we signed him that contract, he had 43 points in 81 games. We should have instantly just locked him up. I do believe we were having some cap problems at the time, but this was a guy that we should have been looking at. Okay, this is a top 10 guy. He's been showing some great glimpses. Let's lock him up and try to keep him for as long as we can, because he's going to be a killer combo with McDavid and Draisaitl. I don't know what else they were seeing, but they weren't seeing the same stuff I was seeing, and they only gave him a 2-year contract of 3.9. Great AAB, but now he wants $11 million, which you already got Darnell Nurse, who also takes up about 11% of your cap. Yeah, that's going to take up a good 13%. So now you have Darnell Nurse, who is an absolute bum. Evan Bouchard, McDavid, and Draisaitl taking up probably, 15, 50, 30, 45. That'd be almost about fucking 55% or 60% of your cap going towards 4 players. You're basically doing what the Toronto Maple Leafs are doing, right? Getting a ton of players, and all of them are taking up a good bulk of their salary cap, and they always have a tough time finding players to plunk around the team. So, in my opinion, the Edmonton Oilers need to do something very much this season. I think without a doubt, yeah, at this point, buyout Nurse, right? At this point, literally, I think would be a better idea to buy out Nurse. But even then, that's going to be a costly buyout. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be very, very cheap because I think there's a lot of bonuses with the deal, too. So you take a look at what the annual buyout cost be. It's only 1.5. So that's actually not bad. That's actually not bad at all. Let's see here. So 925 original cap hit. I mean, even buying it out, you don't save anything, dude. Because with the amount of, like, bonuses he gets in the last 4 years of his deal, it's all $6 million flat bonuses. So that will hit your cap hit. I'll show you guys here. Legit, Nurse's contract is legit buyout proof. There's no way you could ever buy it out. Like, the first 2 years, you get $10 million in savings, $8 million in savings. The next year, it goes right down to $500,000. And then right after that, you are in the negatives for cap hit. Like, I don't know, man. If I'm reading that right, but I don't know, man. I don't think it's a very smart time to buy out Nurse in 12 years. That's a pretty good amount of time for Darnell Nurse's contract. I think he can still, I don't even know if he can turn it around. I don't think Nurse can really turn things around right now. I haven't really thought Darnell Nurse has even played good in a long goddamn time, but it is what it is. But that's, I think, really all we got about the Edmonton Oilers. This is the year that they need to absolutely win it. This is the year that they need to go all in on, for sure. Like, this is everything we need to do this year is go all in. Try to get a better defenseman later on down the road. Look for some other options and hope that Stan Bowman does not really screw this thing up. Because, holy crow, man, we got to do our best. We got to do a lot better than what we're doing. And hopefully we can play nutty this year. Hopefully. So we could probably get into the tier list because that's really all I have planned for this stream. Because not like a whole lot's going on in the NHL right now. We're just getting a lot of the training camp. We get a lot of Xavier Bogault playing for Ottawa tonight. Nice. And then a lot of their newer defensemen there in Colorado. Nikolai Kulemin's coming back to play a little bit there in Ottawa. Austin Matthews is to start the preseason. Huh. Alrighty. So let's get into this and let's get into this tier list, eh? You guys can help me out along this as well. If you guys want, we're going to do a little bit of a tier list. I'm going to throw myself in the other corner here. So we're doing a little bit of a tier list. Now, this tier list is a Payton on the Radio podcast power rankings for this upcoming season. We got our cup favorites, cup contenders, dark horses, potential surprises, missing the playoffs, PS low-key trash, rebuilding, good luck next year. So with the missing the playoffs, these are teams that have expectations to make the playoffs, but are not. Potential surprises, of course, they are tweeners. I believe they could be, making the playoffs, but probably not your cup contenders. Your cup favorites and cup contenders, they're guys that are basically guaranteed to win the cup this upcoming season. So let's get right into it. I guess we don't have Utah on this. Oh, fuck, eh? We could change that up here right quick. Let me just put Utah in there instead of the Arizona Coyotes. For some reason, that's in there. Utah Hockey Club, PNG. Get that in there. I just even think about it. And I'm like, oh, wait, hang on a second. That cannot be a thing right now. So we'll get them on in there. Which won't take me too long. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Boo-boo-boo. Do-do-do-do. Where can... Oh, there we go. Choose. There we go. I expect the Oilers / Jets lines to be out momentarily since they play in 5 hours. Yeah, they play around 5, don't they? I'm not, unfortunately, going to be able to watch the damn game because the game is out, like... Well, I can watch it, but it's not really, you know, you have to pay for their stupid thing to be able to watch it. So I think I'm okay. Okay. So let's get into this. The Utah Hockey Club image is not PNG, but that'll be fine for now. Let's get into the ranking of this. Okay. So Anaheim Ducks rebuilding. Good luck next year. We all know what the Anaheim Ducks have. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year. They just put Radko Gudas as their captain this upcoming season. But with the way that they've been, and I actually watched the video by District 5. Shout out to him. Amazing little content creator that I found not that long ago. He was talking about the Anaheim Ducks and their culture and how it hasn't changed in a long time. And I'm in the same boat where I'm like, I don't know if really making Radko Gudas is the step that you want to make with this team, because the biggest problem with this team is the fact that they don't have an identity. They're struggling to find that identity right now, and you can take a look at a lot of their things. They suck at goal scoring and they suck at goals against. They take so many penalties, but they don't do anything with them, and they don't do anything on their power play barely. They have a lot of problems, and they need to change that culture a little bit. They need to almost start accepting more of Trevor Zegras, right? They want like a Getzlaf and Perry, but they're not trying to adapt into that new age. They're continuing to try to be the old team that they used to be when they're really not. When you take a look at a lot of their players that they have, and Olin Zellweger and Mintnikov, and you got Zegras and Leo Carlson and all these guys, this team on paper, incredible team, could be an insane level team. Do I think they're going to be? No, because they decide that, oh, we need a Ross Johnston on this team, and we need to go and get Radko Gudas to play top 4 minutes alongside of Brian Dumoulin we need as well. You know, like, and I do like Brian Dumoulin. I do like Radko Gudas. I think they can be good in bunches, or I think they could be fine really by themselves if you get one or two. But when you try to really pick up a lot of those guys, I just don't have a good feeling about it. They did pick up, I think they picked up Fabro this past season is what I do believe they did. I just want to take a look at the signings. Because they did, they also did pick up Bennett. Yeah, they traded for Fabro, and they did get Brian Dumoulin from a trade from Seattle as well. So a few moves that they did make this upcoming season to make themselves a little bit better. I just don't know if they're really going to be anything special this year. Do I think Dumoulin's going to add anything to their defensive core? I can't really say that, because you take a look at what they really need. You take a look at Brian Dumoulin. Going to try to be quick on these teams. You take a look at Brian Dumoulin. Pretty good. Doesn't take a whole lot of penalties, which is very good. He's a little older. I don't think he's going to be at the peak of his game. In my opinion, I don't think he's going to be the peak of his game. I don't think he's going to be super amazing. I hope that Cutter Gauthier has a good year for your team. And, you know, Leo Carlson continues to play great. That you hope that Mason McTavish bounces back. But I didn't really see anything that I really was like, okay, that's a great move. You know what I mean? That's an amazing pickup that they made. Yeah, even Alex Kilrun, I think that's a little bit of an overpayment for Alex Kilrun. I even said that at the beginning. I just don't think Kilroy is going to be that guy that maybe is a guy that's later on down the road pretty good, but not really right now. They need to start focusing on that youth. They need to start focusing with and actually making a good team. And I just don't even think they're going to even be a competitive team. I think they're just going to be kind of that bottom feeder team. I think you could see them later on moving up to that low-key trash type of point, but I think they're just at straight trash, and they're not really going to do very much, in my opinion. So we got the Boston Bruins next up. Let's take a look at their team. I can't really say very much right now. They did get Lindholm. Which, you know, you take a look at what they did last year for the league. I didn't think, let's take a look. Can I take a look at the NHL? Just NHL. There we go. Teams. Boston. Take a quick drink of my tea. So they did amazing last year. Even without, like, a good centerman. Charlie Cole did really good. You had Frederick and Geeky, who played a lot of minutes up the middle, and Jesper Bakquist. They actually did quite well on Swayman and Olmark. Now, they don't have Swayman signed to a deal. So that's kind of the biggest issue right now. They're having to play potentially Jonas Korpisalo to start off the season, and then either Deep Retro or Bussy. But Swayman is still having that whole dispute right now with them, so we don't really know what's going to be happening with Swayman. They've been in talks with signing a contract. I think once they get that signed, I could boost it up a little bit. I don't even know really where I'm going to put it yet, but they did get Casimir Kaskaso, so you might see him sign a little bit of a cheap contract with the Boston Bruins. But getting Lindholm is a good pickup. I mean, he's good, but the problem is that the contract that they got him at and the no movement that they got him at, I'm not really a big fan of that. That's my only problem with Lindholm here, is that you take a look at Lindholm. I don't really like a whole lot of things with Lindholm. I think he's very overrated. I think he's a half-decent 2A guy, but he's mostly an offensive player. I don't believe he's that great defensively. You know, he's been in the talks for Selke, but I don't believe that. He's not that great defensively. He's definitely more of an offensive player, definitely a playmaker who could pot a few goals as well. I think he'll be a decent guy, and I think he will play pretty well with Pasternak and Brad Marchand. Do I believe he's going to be a stud for the team and really worth that contract for especially how long it is? I think, what, next 5 years? Next 7 years. 7 years, fucking long, dude. I don't really like how long this contract is. I don't like the no movement aspect of it. I don't like the contract. I do like the player on the team. That's the only thing I like about it. I think if it was a little cheaper and not as long, I think it would have been a better fit for the Boston Bruins. But you have that Zach and Lindholm and Pasternak. That's going to be a pretty good line. And in your depth, it's all right for the depth. I think there's definitely a lot of things that could be worked on with the depth. Defensively, picking up Zadorov, massive contract, bit of an overpayment. But we're taking a look at how well this team will do. And I think very well defensively. I think they'll play pretty good. Mason Lohrey played a little bit of last year, I do believe. And he wasn't that bad of a player. Yeah, played a good amount of minutes. He didn't put up too bad of numbers. I think overall the Boston Bruins, I can't put them as a cup contender, I feel like right now. I'm only going to have so many limited teams to cup contenders and cup favorites. My rule is for cup favorites, only 4 teams can be cup favorites in my eyes. Those are the 4 teams I'm going to be putting there, and then I'm probably only going to put 4 to 6 in the cup contenders. So I think for right now, I'm going to put the Boston Bruins in the dark horses area. I think they're very much a team that I think if a lot of their players can absolutely blow up and play really good, and they could have some real nice depth guys pop up, and the young players in Bouchard and Justin Brazeau and a lot of those guys really have a good year, I think their depth could be very good. But if those guys don't step up, it could be a very bad year for their offensive core. And also with Swayman not having a deal right now, it's not the greatest thing in the world either. That's kind of my concern as well, with them not having Swayman and starting Jonas Korpisalo to start off the year. Not a great look for them. So dark horses, Carolina. Before I even throw them, because they did have a pretty rough offseason, to be honest with you. They didn't do the greatest offseason in the world. So we'll take a look at their signings. They got Seth Jarvis back to a big-time deal. Martin Necas, they re-signed. Jack Drury, they re-signed. So a lot of players they were focusing on re-signing, getting players back. They did bring in Jack Roslovich this year, Sean Walker, Shane Gostisbehere, they re-signed. Martin Carrier, Tyson Jost they brought in. Jalen Chatfield they re-signed. So they brought in a decent amount of players for the players that they did lose out on, which I cannot remember off the top of my head. I think, hang on, let me pop up another thing. Fort Carolina. What is that fucking website called? Fortac. Sportac. There we go. And then we'll take a look at signings. If we could do that. There we go. Yeah, so they lost D'Angelo, Ranta. They didn't really lose out on too much, to be honest with you. For the way that the players that they lost, they actually gained pretty good. Now, the biggest thing is how well is Kokanami going to do this year? Is Kokanami actually going to have a good season for the Carolina Hurricanes? Like, I used to really think very highly of the Carolina Hurricanes, and they've been having great regular seasons. It's just playoff-wise, they struggled to do much of anything coming into the second or third round. You know what I mean? Like, the year before, they got swept by the Florida Panthers. This year, they lost to the Rangers in 6 games, right? Like, and they barely, like, the Islanders were probably one of the easiest teams to fucking face. So, they still got a lot of issues in depth. I think this year is my concern. I mean, Carrier, he'll be a good player. I think for them, a little bit of a long-term contract, but I think Carrier is really, really good. I think he'll be good. Tyson Joe's not bad. Martin Necas, their depth is a little bit worrying, especially with Jordan Stahl and Martinook. How well will they do this year? Jack Drury's always really good. Defensively, again, Sean Walker, I think, is a great pickup. Dmitry Orlov, still great. Goss Despair. I think their defense core is pretty good. Jesper Fast could come back in the lineup here, too. He's on the IR. So, I think with the Carolina Hurricanes, I think they could do very good this year. I like a lot of their things. I don't think they're, like, guaranteed Cup favorites. I like them as a Cup contender, though. I think they are a team who is in the talks every single season. They are a team that could definitely do it. Can they put the pieces together? That is the biggest question, I think, for the Carolina Hurricanes is can they put the pieces together? I think Chicago is pretty easy. I think we're not even going to really talk about Chicago. We know what they did. They picked up Bertuzzi. They got some pretty good players. We actually talked about that in the last podcast, a little bit about what Chicago did, getting, Bertuzzi, Teravainen, and making Nick Foligno the captain this year, getting Martinez and Murphy, right, and Brossoit. They picked up a lot of players, but I don't see them playing any better than what they did last year. I think there's going to be a lot of improvement, but I don't think they're going to be a team that's going to be doing much of anything. I think they're still going to be a rebuilding team, and yeah, I see that's where they're going to be at. Colorado, I think they're Cup favorites. I think that's always an easy one to do, just because Colorado is such an insane level team. They didn't have that strong of a season this past year. I think that was mostly due to the fact with not having Gabriel Landeskog throughout majority of this season. With Landeskog going to be coming back this year, they actually didn't. I don't even think they even had him last year. So I put Flyers and potential surprises to BH with Michkov. Yeah, we'll talk about, you know what? We'll talk about that team. We'll talk about that team here actually now. We'll jump back up on Colorado, but we know what they have. Like, we know what Colorado has. They struggled last year. They didn't have Landeskog. They're going to have Landeskog this year. They got Casey Middlestat for a full season. Maybe Kovalenko, who looks pretty good too. Their depth is crazy. They got Shillington. They got some really good pickups with Landeskog potentially coming back. I could easily see them as Cup favorites. But yeah, we'll jump into Philly. We'll take a look at them. So, this man saying potential surprise. And I think that's almost the best spot to almost put them, because you take a look at what they did this past offseason. Right, Konechny, which I don't even want to talk about that contract because that was not very good. Bobby Brink getting him back on the team. Garnett Hathaway, getting Eric Johnson. Mateo Michkov, I think it's going to be a really, really good this year. I think he's going to be a player to kind of keep an eye out for. Trade-wise, I don't think they made any big deals, but you take a look at their depth chart. They're mostly reliant on a lot of their older players. There we go. So I can see the points. Tyson Forrester, right? Sean Couturier back in lineup. Travis, he'll have another good season. Tyson Forrester will probably do good again. Owen Tippett they got. Plus, if you have Mateo Michkov, that could totally make a big difference with this team this year. If Michkov could have an insane level season. And then their depth playing pretty good. Defensive core with Jamie Drysdale, you just hope that he stays healthy, because if he stays healthy, this could be a not bad defense core. My only concern is their defense core. But with Samuel Ersson and Ivan Fedenkov, like, you have a lot of good players, honestly, there in Philly. I can't even really call them low-key trash either, because I would say they're almost in the middle of being kind of there, but, it could be a team that could totally surprise you. So, I agree with you on this, man. I see them as a potential surprise. You can see them right on the edge of that, being on the playoffs. especially if Mitch Cobb plays the way that he can play, like the way that he's built up to play. Oh, yeah, I could definitely see him having easily 70 points. I could easily see him having 30, 40 goals this year. I think he's going to be a really big killer player. Also, guys, we're about 30 minutes into the stream. If you guys haven't already, make sure to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button as well, boys. It'll be very, very much appreciated as we're having a blast here so far. So it's keep her going. Let's keep her going. So Philly, we talked about Colorado. We had them up as Cup favorites. Now Columbus, another team. Unfortunately, I think we got to add an extra row here. Because I don't even feel justified to talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets right now. I think they'll be put in their own tier list right now. Because it's rest in peace Johnny Gaudreau, which we will move all the way up to the top because it deserves to be at the top of this tier list is the Columbus Blue Jackets. You could even beat the Calgary Flames there if you really wanted to, and their memorial with Johnny Gaudreau as well. Just because, you know, they deserve to be the top of the leaderboard with what both fan bases have had to deal with. Not even just that, to the family of the Gaudreaus. Just a horrible tragedy that I did talk about a while ago on the stream. Just a horrible tragedy that happened to Columbus. Not even just Columbus, to the family of the Gaudreaus, both losing both Matthew and Johnny. Great players to hockey, and just some amazing people that touched a lot of hearts in both of these cities and just around the whole NHL. So I'm pretty sure we all know where I would place them. But for right now, we're going to be throwing both of them up at the rest in peace Johnny Gaudreau section because that's where they deserve to be. Rest in peace, my man. So we'll get into the next topic here. So they cut down some teams, eh? When do they cut off? Oh, yeah. Calum Parker, Ryder Ritchie. Yeah, all guys that are definitely not ready to play in the NHL anyways. Some guys that they cut from PTOs. Yeah, it's easier to manage 50 players than a bunch of other players, you know what I mean? Okay, so back on the tier list here, we got Dallas. Dallas, I see it on one where it's like Cup favorite. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know how to feel about Dallas Stars being Cup favorites. What do you guys think in the chat there, boys? Do you guys think the Dallas Stars are going to be Cup favorites this year? What do you guys think on that? Do you think they're going to drop down a little bit? Do you think they're going to improve? I didn't really like a lot of the signs they did do with Labushkin and Dumpa. I think that makes them tremendously worse than what they had last year. Because what they had last year, they had Harley, Lindell, Niels Lundqvist. They were playing Ryan Suter and Jan Hakanpää. I actually think Jan Hakanpää did really well. But with going with what they get this year and Labushkin and Dumpa is pure offensive. Like, if you play him alongside Heiskanen, probably not a bad idea. I think you play him alongside of anybody else, I don't believe he's going to play very well. And Labushkin is just straight trash, honestly. I really don't like him. Now, you take a look at the offense core, and you're like, ooh, baby, look at the fucking lineup they got here. You know, Stan Coleman's only going to develop more. Bjork's going to develop even more, right? Like, the way that they already played 14 points in 24 games, right? Like playoffs 100%, but with teams like Oilers, Avs, definitely not Cup favorites. But yeah, I see them as contenders, right? This is a very good team with a great goalie in Jake Ollinger, a team that does great in the playoffs. I think with Cup favorites, though, with only 4 teams going there, I think Dallas Stars is your Cup contenders, but not Cup favorites, right? I think their defense core takes them down a massive peg. I think if they improve that defense core, this team easily moves up to Cup favorites. But with that team, you know, losing out on a lot of players, I don't really believe them being Cup contenders or being Cup favorites. I see them more being Cup contenders. Next up, Detroit. I think this is a low-key trash team, in my opinion. Low-key trash. just because you take a look at their lineup, they just have a lot of big question marks with this team. Their top line, insane, but you got to hope Larkin stays healthy. You got to hope Lucas Raymond has an amazing season. You just got to hope that the Detroit Red Wings actually play good hockey. And actually have a good season. They need to play a lot better defensively, for sure. And you got to see a better season from DeBrincat. Kane, I mean, you're not going to rely on him to play defense, and same with Tarasenko. I think this is an easy one, and you take a look at their defense score. I don't know, Chief. Like, Bouchard still is not great. Like, you got a lot of big question marks in your goaltending with Husso, Leon, and Talbot. I mean, Alex Leon had a great season last year, but even then it wasn't super incredible. So I think this is an easy one. I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on this one, but I think they're missing the playoffs again. But I think they're low-key trash. I think they could be a potential surprise, but with their defense, they didn't improve at all. Like, you might get Mort Snyder to play a little bit better, which he signed a big $8.55 million deal. And Simon Edmondson will probably improve, but I just don't know what to say about the rest of this defense core. It's just not very good, and it didn't improve at all. And they didn't improve in goaltending because they just got Cam Talbot, who's also pretty goddamn mid. Now on to Florida. I think Florida, I don't know what to say about them, but they definitely lost a lot of players this year. Detroit is 8-year-old's dream 2018 fantasy team. Definitely not 2024, though. Oh, my God, yeah. Like, when they started fucking rebuilding, they're like, oh, my God, Yzerman's going to fix us. Like, Yzerman's going to build a dream team. And then, like, they were developing into a dream team. And then Sherratt and Justin Hall and Ollie Mata. And it's just like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? So Florida lost a lot of players. They lost Montour. Oh, this doesn't show all the players that they lost. Relinquished. There we go. Montour, Tarasenko, Oliver Ekman-Larsson they lost, Dorlars. They lost a good amount of players this past free agency day, which was a huge bummer for the Florida Panthers. But they did get back in on Balquist. They did sign Anton Lundell to a $5 million deal. Jesper Balquist for depth. Sam Reinhart they re-signed. Dmitry Kulikov, which is a good defensive defenseman. Chris Driedger, if he could actually play good. A lot of big question marks for sure for the Florida Panthers. Because with the way that they've been the last season, I don't believe they're cup contenders this year. Now, they could totally prove me wrong. Their defense core has me a little worried with what they got going. I mean, getting Nate Schmidt, I think, is not a bad pickup. Dmitry Kulov. Hopefully, Spencer Knight plays big time for you this year. I think I could see them dropping off a little bit this year for Florida. That's kind of what I see them. We might move them back up to the cup contenders if we don't have a whole lot in the East, because it's almost hard for me to not put them as cup contenders, especially with how good Sergei Bobrovsky was. But Anthony Storlaws was a great backup for him and helped him a lot. So is Spencer Knight going to play, or are we going to be seeing Chris Driedger a lot more? You know what I mean? I think you can see a lot of the big seasons from these guys again, which was your big contributors. You really didn't see a whole lot from your depth anyway. So you know what? We are going to put them as cup contenders because I think we'll need an East team up there. I think Florida is guaranteed to probably either be in the conference finals or be cup favorites again. So it's almost hard for me to not put them there because of the way that they've been even last year. And everyone's like, oh, these guys, there's no way. There's no way. And then they do it. I think we talked about Edmonton too already. We know what they got. I think they're cup favorites this year with getting Skinner and Arvidsson. I think the only downside of them right now is their defense score, but I do see Stuart Skinner taking a big step up this season. I think a lot of people hate him for no reason, and I think Skinner will be proving people wrong this year. I think Stuart Skinner is going to have an insane level season. I think he's going to be an amazing player for the Edmonton Oilers, so I'm excited to see what he will be doing. And I think Skinner is going to be incredible for the Edmonton Oilers this season, and I think we will pick up a defenseman later on down the road, but I think right now they're cup favorites. The Islanders, I think this is a low-key trash team. They're in that spot where they're definitely not rebuilding, and it's definitely not a good year next year, but they're definitely missing the playoffs, but they're going to try to give it their hardest. Because to be honest with you, they didn't really make a whole lot of signings that really changed my mind. You take a look. Duclair was the only guy that I really think was anything as sustenance. But it's not like Duclair really even played that amazing last year. They get Mayfield back, Enville to a huge deal for some reason. Mike Riley they signed. I think that's actually to Florida. But they didn't really sign anybody. They did get Mike Riley, but they got Duclair, who did half decent, 27, and did really well for the Tampa Bay Lightning once he got traded to there. He's going to be a good goal scorer, and they definitely need a good goal scorer. They need a guy that can kind of give them 20 to 30 goals. And yeah, let's not talk about Mayfield. Yeah, well, let's just not talk about the whole Islanders team 0.0. You know what I mean? Like, they are full of tweener guys that, they could maybe make it in. They could be a potential surprise, but I just don't think they're much of anything. I think with them signing Patrick Waugh, they had a little bit of a resurgence last year, but I think they're just low-key trash and they're not making it to the playoffs this year, to be honest. Yay. Let's talk about the LA Kings. What do you guys think the LA Kings is going to do this year? Let me guys know in the chat there, boys. What do you guys think is going to happen to the Kings? I really don't like this team. I think what they did this year with getting Edmondson, Fogle, that's really all they did. That's it. And what did they get? They got they traded away Pierre-Luc Dubois, and they got back. They picked up Tanner Chanot, and they picked up Grunstrom. They got Darcy Kemper. So they got a good goaltender. They got a decent goaltender in Darcy Kemper, who's all right, who puts up numbers. You got the offensive core who has a lot of big questions. Is Fogle going to do the same thing he did last year, right? Tanner Chanot is pretty good, but, you have a lot of question marks after that. And defensively, did Joel Edmondson really need to be the guy that they got? And Arvidsson is a big loss, and they replaced it with Jeannot and Fogle, and I don't think that's really a good replacement when you're playing Alex Lafleur up at the top line there, and then you got Darcy Kemper and David Riddick for your net mining, so not much of anything for net mining. Darcy Kemper's good, but he hasn't been that good in a good bit, and he'd even play that good when he was in Colorado going to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they had a half-decent defensive core. So I don't even know where you put them. I think you put them as dark horses because that's the only spot they got, really. They're not a surprise team, They're not going to come out of nowhere where they were a non-playoff team. I think they're dark horses who are probably just going to lose in the first round. I can see that's where they're going to probably be. Minnesota. I think this is a potential surprise. I think Minnesota is a potential surprise this year. Just with the way that they got things kind of going there, they're quietly improving. They got a lot of prospects. They did. I don't really like the Trennan move that they did. Trennan wasn't that great. I don't think they did any trades either, from what I remember. They did get Jacob Lockie. I think that's really it. I don't think they really did much of anything for off-season wise. They're just kind of hoping for some development out of a lot of their players, right? So you still have Kaprizov, Zuccarello's still going to probably have another great year. Hartman, always great. Their second line, you got Johansson, Eriksson, Baldy. Baldy's going to probably improve this year. Rossi's going to have, I think, a big season this year, so I'd be ready for that. Merritt's going to probably play Liam Auger, and I think they're going to have some good young players jump into the roster this year, so I think that's something to be excited about. Brodeen, Brock Faber, Middleton, Spurgeon. I think if Spurgeon plays a full year this year, they could definitely be a lot better, and we'll see how well the net mining can do. I think with them, I don't know if they're really low-key trash because they do got a lot of good players. They're like a Philly almost. They're like in between this and this. I think they're a potential surprise. I think with them right now, I think they're a team that could potentially do something this year, but we'll see if they got the right tools. Montreal, we know what they did. They did a lot of signings. They went out and traded for Patrick Laine. He didn't really make it to the start of the camp. from what all this man was telling me. So we'll see if he actually starts off the season with the team. But it's a team that I think is still developing. I think they're still rebuilding. I don't know how well they'll really play this year. I don't know if they're really going to be a playoff team or even really a low-key trash team. Let's see. I see them taking a step up than what they did last year, I think. With how well they did this past season. They don't have Mount Monahan this year. Before you think I'm crazy, I'd put the Ducks in potential surprise with guys like Gaucher, McTavish, Seegers, Dostal. Oh, yeah, for sure. But with the culture that they've been having there in Anaheim for so long and the way that they continue to take bad penalties and they haven't really improved upon that, can they actually make a good power play system? That's my biggest question coming into the season. I like a lot of their players, and I think they can move up to that point. But I don't believe they're potential surprises because I watched the video and was basically showing a lot of things that I don't think the team's going to improve this year. I think it's going to take another year before that, before they're actually able to kind of move up a little bit more. I think with Montreal, I don't think they're really in that rebuilding state anymore. I think they're on the cusp of being a pretty good team. Defensively, it's not bad. Joshua Roy, we'll see if he does. I mean, Patrick Laine was a good pickup, but we'll see if he actually does something. A lot of question marks that I don't know. I think, if anything, I don't know if you want to put them in low-key trash, because they're not really low-key trash, but they're not potential surprises. I think they're in that spot. They got some young players, so I wouldn't really call them low-key trash. I could definitely even see them as potential surprises, but I think for right now, they're not going to be rebuilding. But they're not going to be, they're going to be decent. You know what I mean? But they have more potential than these two teams for sure. Nashville, I don't even know where to put Nashville. Because I feel like they picked up a lot of good players. I just don't have a lot of, I don't know. I have a lot of questions. Right, because they took a lot of their 5-on-5 is going to struggle. But, I mean, you have a top line that does really good 5-on-5 wise. They're making their power play better, which they needed to do with Stamkos and Marchessault. Their depth is pretty good, especially if you get Tomasino. I think Tomasino needs to play full-time this year. The depth is actually pretty good. Defense is pretty good with picking up Brady Shea. Yeah, you know what? I would almost agree with that. Cup contenders, I would agree with that. I don't know if they're going to really be... I don't think they're going to really make it out of the second or third round, in my opinion. But I think cup contenders, I think that's a good spot for them. I think they're definitely a team that could really do some damage this year. So I could agree with that. I could agree with that. With the moves that they did, improving their power play, making their defense core a little bit better, I think I like where that's at. New Jersey Devils, I think they're dark horses this year. I think they're in the same spot that LA and them are in. I have a lot of big questions about this team. Can Timo Meier play actually good this year? Team reminds me of their 2017. Could. A lot of big questions for this team. Dylan, I mean, their defensive core is all right. I think there's some good moments back there. They got Jacob Markstrom, which I think will be a good netminder. I don't really see him as cup contenders, though. I still see so many questions with the New Jersey Devils and the way that they've been so up and down. And, you know, at least they got Sheldon Keefe this year, and it's not Lindy Ruff as their head coach, right? So they definitely will take a step up, but I don't really see them as cup contenders until they can prove me right. And I think right now they're dark horses. I think there are guys that are on the cusp of being cup contenders, but they got to play a lot better than what they've been in the last few years. I think Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt will play great. I think their depth will do not bad. I think their third line is kind of a big question, and their depth, I think, are big questions. Defensively is pretty good, but you got to really see Pesce and, you know, Nemec and Luke Hughes and see how good those guys. I mean, Luke Hughes is easy, and how well will Jacob Markstrom do in New Jersey? Is he going to be really worth what they had to pay for? You know what I mean? So those are all big questions, I think, for New Jersey, and I think they're the dark horses. Rangers, I don't know if I want to put them as cup contenders, but I feel like that's the spot they should go in here. Let me know, how do you think of that? The Rangers as cup contenders. What do you think of that? I mean, the last 2 years they've been in the first round. The last 3 years they've been in the conference finals two out of the three times. Panarin had a nice season. Rain had a pretty good season. You'll probably see him take another big step up this year. Chatil, if he plays a full year, I think he could be really deadly. Capo Caco, if he plays a lot better. I think a lot of their younger guys, I think Hoffman should be probably playing a lot this year. Their defense is pretty good. Brayden Schneider I think will take another step up. Igor Shesterkin, if he actually plays a little bit better this year, I think he'll be pretty good. Honestly, I think that's where they kind of going to be at. I think the Rangers are going to, I think they're going to really push hard this year. They've been in the conference finals out of the 2 out of the 3 times. I think out of the rest of the Eastern Conference teams that we have here, they probably have the best chances to win the cup. In my head, I think those are your easy cup favorites between the 4 teams. 2 in the West, 2 in the East, Colorado, Edmonton, New York, and Florida. I think all those guys are your cup contenders. Easily. Ottawa, rebuilding good luck next year. I hate Ottawa. I think the team that they're building is a fucking big pile of shit, to be honest with you. You take a look at what they have. They really didn't change anything. They picked up Amadelio. Their defense, they grabbed Nick Jensen, and he's good, but Shabbat and Zub and Sanderson's a decent top 4, but is Linus Ullmark really going to be your fix? I think if anything, we won't put him in rebuilding. We'll put him in low-key trash, missing the playoffs. I think we'll put him in that area. They're a good team. They have some decent areas on the team, but I just don't think they're going to make it to the playoffs this year. I just don't think they're going to be a great team. Pittsburgh, I think another team that, they're kind of rebuilding. I think that's what they're going to be going for with this team. They got Bavoulier, they got Michael Bunting. I think they're just trying to put a bunch of pieces together to see what can work. Defensively, they got Sebastian Aho that they picked up. And I don't even know where to really put this team, because I think there is some good pieces to this team, but I don't know if they're really going to play that amazing. You know what I mean? I think they're going to still be like a team that maybe could make it, but not really. I really don't see them as a potential surprise. I see them as missing the playoffs, PS low-key trash. San Jose, rebuilding, good year next year. I think they've taken a lot of improvements, San Jose. I think with getting Toffoli, getting Granlund. Yeah, getting Toffoli, getting Granlund, having Eklund have a play another season. We'll see how Celebrini plays. Same with Will Smith. Their defense core is quite trash. They do got some decent guys back there, but it's not amazing. And they did pick up Askarov, so it could definitely be a better season. But I still see them as a rebuilding team. I really don't see them really doing much of anything. Seattle Kraken. I think this is another team that's kind of low-key trash. A team that still has a lot of big question marks with the team. A team that played half decently last year. Let's take a look. They do have a new head coach in Dan Bylsma, but play well defensively, doesn't do anything offensively. They did get some pretty good offensive guys and Montour and also Chandler Stevenson, but massively overpaid in these guys, so don't know why. Goaltending is still very much a question mark. Joey Decor played pretty good, so I think he'll have probably another good season. Eli Televinen, depth, not bad. Shane Wright. If Shane Wright has a good year, Matty Beniers has a good bounce back year, I could see them as a potential surprise this year. With how deep they are and how many big question marks they have, I think Shane Wright is going to have a pretty nutty season this year. I think Shane Wright's going to play really, really good. I think Matty Beniers is going to have a good season this year. I think he's going to bounce back, especially with the new coach there in Dan Bylsma. I think Dan Bylsma is a perfect coach for this young team. I think he'll do really good with Matty Beniers. I could kind of see them as a potential surprise. I'm going to see them potentially doing something this year. So we'll see what they do. And then St. Louis. We're firing right through these teams. How long are we in? Almost an hour in. That's actually not bad. Not bad at all. Probably almost near my cap for podcasting. St. Louis, once again, like Broberg, he's a big question mark. You got Jordan Binnington, Dylan Holloway being added to the team as well. Their top 6 is all right. I think they got some good players there. Do I think they're really going to make it to the playoffs? Do I think they're going to be surprises? I mean, when you take a look at everything else that they have right now, I mean, Drew Bannister did pretty good, 30-19-5. I don't even know if I really want to put him. I mean, Joel Hoffner played pretty good. I think he'll have a pretty good season this upcoming season. Their depth is offensively, defensively, they're not really done anything. I think if anything, where do you guys think St. Louis should go? I'm between potential surprises or low-key trash. That's kind of where I'm thinking of going right now. Because I think the combo they'll have there is going to be good. Broberg's going to be decent. That's it, though. I just think with everything else that they got it going in the Central Division, I just don't think they're going to be even a surprise. I think there's going to be a miss in the playoffs this year. That's where I think they're going to be. Tampa Bay, I'm going to put them as cup favorites this year. I do. A lot of people are like, oh, why the fuck did they get rid of Stamkos and all this shit? Like, the reason why they got rid of Stamkos is because they already got some pretty good options on the power play. And now getting Jake Getsel, I think Jake Getsel will do really, really well with Payton, Kucherov. You got Atkinson, who I think will do pretty well. Their depth is okay. It's all right. You know, it could be a lot better than what it is. Defensively, J.J. Moser is pretty decent, but definitely not as good as Mikhail Sergachev. So they definitely did drop in a lot of cases, but I do like Jake Getsel. I think they're a pretty good chance that they're cup favorites this year. That's where I kind of see them being. Toronto, I think they're always going to be cup favorites. I think this year they have a lot of odds on them this year to actually do something of worth. I think the team, the fan base wants them to do something. I think Matthew Knives is going to develop a little bit more this year. You know, Domi's going to have another good season with Nylander and Yankeruk. You know, John Tavares without the C. How well will Matthews do as the captain of this team? Will Nick Robertson have a big year this year? You know, there's a lot of big questions here in Toronto. I think with the defensive core, with getting Tanev, I think it's a good pickup. You got to hope he stays healthy. Ekman Larson's not too bad as a two-way guy. Has been playing half decent. The contract is a little long. I don't really like that, but everything else I do like with that contract. Getting Jan Hankapaa is pretty good. You know, you built a pretty good depth defensive core, and I do like that. And Starlaws and Wall. We'll see how that combo works. You know, it's a big question there, goaltending-wise, but I do like them being cup contenders. Vancouver. Vancouver's also another interesting team that I think will be cup contenders this year. I think how many teams you already got up there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5. You know, that's actually perfect because I'll be 6. And I think that's all we really got for cup contenders that we really want to have up there. Vancouver did a lot of good things. Dante Heinen, I think, was good. Jake DeBrusk was also a good pickup. I think that will help out their top 6 tremendously. Their depth is not looking too bad either with Hogland and Teddy Bluger. Pius Suter, Daniel Sprong was an amazing pickup. I'm really a big fan of him. We'll see how well he does. Their defensive core, of course, with Hughes and Horanek, which they got locked up for the next little bit. And Darnay I really don't like, but defensively not bad. Thatcher Demko is the biggest question. So that's why they could even be put in dark horses later on if, you know, Demko ends up being injured. But if Silov could jump up, which I think he could be a pretty good goalie, we'll see. you know, they got a lot of big question marks there in Vancouver land. Vegas, oh Vegas. I don't think they're going to be very good this year. I think this year what did they even do last year? I don't think they had that great of it. They didn't make it in, or did they? They just squeezed in, but they didn't really do very good in the playoffs. Still put up good numbers. They did lose a lot of players in Marchessault and Stevenson this past season. Now running with Olofsson, who they picked up. You got to hope that he actually plays good. Dorofeyev, who didn't do that bad. Alexander Holtz, I think, will actually play pretty well there in Vegas. A lot of big question marks. I think they're dark horses. Samsonov, I don't know why they picked him up. I thought that was a pretty bad signing. Like, horrible. I think they're dark horses. I don't think they're going to be much of anything. I think they'll probably squeeze themselves into the playoffs. But after that, I don't really think they're going to do much of anything. And then Washington, Washington. So, a lot of big questions here in Washington with Pierre-Luc Dubois. They picked up Mangiapane. They actually did a lot of big moves. Ovechkin, I think he'll have another good season. Strome, Mangiapane. I think they'll actually play pretty good. McMichael, Dubois. Dubois is a big question on how well he'll do. Is he actually going to be a good player? They actually built a quite well defensive team this year and got Charlie Lindgren and Logan Thompson this year. I think, low-key, Washington's going to be one of your potential surprises this year. I would keep an eye out for the Washington Capitals this year. Never doubt Alexander Ovechkin. I mean, he could always turn a team around. We'll see how Dubois does with this team. Their depth is a big question offensively. But getting Chychrun, having Sandin, having Matt Roy, like, they have a lot of good defensemen back there. And Charlie Lindgren and Logan Thompson are two pretty decent goaltenders, especially if you put them in a tandem. It could be a very, very good tandem for the Washington Capitals. So I would keep an eye out for that team this year. For sure. Winnipeg. I don't think Winnipeg really did much of anything this past season, and they did make it in. They did make it in the playoffs this past season. I think you could almost put them as another dark horse this season again, in my opinion. But they didn't do great offensively. That's Rick Bowness. So Rick Bowness's plan is usually pretty tight-knit defensively. And you take a look at this year, you got Nemes Dankinov playing. I mean, if you get another good season from Velarde, and a healthy season from Velarde, I think you could do very, very good. Ehlers, there's a lot of big question marks with Ehlers. Is he going to stay with the team? Because we've been hearing a lot of rumors about him. Hellebuck, I think, honestly, just entirely makes him a dark horse in general with just how good Hellebuck is. He's just kind of a god in the net. I think with the Winnipeg Jets, they're not low-key trash. They're not going to be a surprise. I think they're kind of a dark horse. They're a team that has a lot of question marks, but is a team that I think could do very well this year. Buffalo, Buffalo. I know a lot of people hate Buffalo. There's so many question marks with this team, but I like their depth. Greenway, McLeod, Zucker is actually pretty good for their depth. If you have a big season, I think Jack Quinn and Zach Benson have some big seasons. Dylan Cousins takes a huge step up. We know what the top line's capable of. Defensive core, pretty good. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, guys. I fucking nailed that mic. We know what the defensive core is filled with Darlene and Bowen Bryam, and I know others man's gonna say low-key trash, and we suck. But I could almost start them off as a potential surprise. Just because I think there's a lot of big question marks. I like what Buffalo has. I think I could see Benson having a huge step up. I think the third line's going to play really good with McLeod. I really like what they got. In Utah, I love a lot of the moves that they did with picking up Cooley. Getting Sergachev, Dursey, getting all those guys. Like, I think they're going to be pretty good this year. So, there we are. There's the official preseason power rankings here on the Payton on the Radio podcast for this upcoming season. Of course, we are not going to be listening the Blue Jackets and the Flames. They're going to be staying up at the Rest in Peace Johnny Gaudreau tier. But your Cup favorites, we got Colorado, Florida, Edmonton, and the New York Rangers are your Cup favorites. Teams that you'll most likely see in the conference finals or in the finals. In the Cup contenders, you got Carolina, Dallas, Nashville, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and the Vancouver Canucks. And that's actually pretty even. 3 West teams and 3 Eastern Conference teams. And in your dark horses, we got Boston, LA, New Jersey, Vegas, and Winnipeg as your dark horses. So with that already, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 teams. These are probably most likely your playoff teams, with maybe these teams sprinkled in there too. You got your potential surprises is Philly, Minnesota, Seattle, Washington, Buffalo, and Utah. And then to finish it out, we get the missing the playoffs, PS low-key trash, which Buffalo could potentially be down there too later on. You got Detroit, New York, Montreal, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, and the St. Louis Blues. With the rebuilding and good luck next year, we got Anaheim, Chicago, and San Jose. So there we go. That is it for that, ladies and gentlemen. Which that is almost basically the podcast, unless we got any other news that's going around in the NHL, which I don't believe we do. We're just kind of waiting for some preseason hockey to begin. So I hope you guys enjoy that. I don't think we really got a whole lot out here that we're going to be really talking about now. We got the hockey season back. I think that, I've just been seeing a lot of Diddy P. Diddy stuff on Twitter, which seems endless to me. Seems endless. Alrighty, boys. I think that's about it. I think I'm going to sign off. I think I'm going to sign off and probably go chill for the night. I think I'm actually editing rosters on HLM. I'm making a retro roster, so that should be fun. So thank you so much for tuning in to the stream there, ladies and gentlemen. It was an absolute blast to talk some hockey, get the preseason rankings going. We're going to keep up with that basically every single podcast that we do, which I'm going to be trying to stick to doing the podcast every 2 weeks. Is what I'm going to try to plan on doing every 2 weeks. We're going to upload a podcast and get that going. So hope to see you guys every 2 weeks. We're going to be doing tons of more content, hopefully, if I have time. Definitely doing some live streams for some of the live hockey games as well, so keep an eye out for that. It'll be a lot of fun. I am super pumped to get this hockey season underway, and I hope you guys are as well, man. It's going to be a fun hockey season to watch. We will probably be live with another live stream in about 2 weeks. So, not this upcoming week, but probably a week before the season starts is when we're going to be doing the podcast. We'll probably do 2 podcasts in a row. But, hey, Lego, thank you for tuning in, bud. And no problem. I always love talking hockey, and that was a lot of fun. So, I hope to see you guys on the next one. Should be live next weekend as well to do some more HLM 25. So I'm very excited to do more of that. Maybe I'll live stream a little bit later on tonight, but that's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. Yeah, I know it's not just you others, man. We'll probably get more chatters throughout the season. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace out later. Have a good one, guys. Adios, amigo.